In your high school, some kind of like a freestyle culture going on? Are there people battling around? Is that kind of thing happening?
It was very vague. Like the freestyle thing was very vague. Like, no, I went to Westmount. You know what I mean? I went to Westmount High.
Very fair.
Um,
Very fair.
yeah, so there wasn't really too much freestyling going on there. You know,
Yeah,
until after when I went to James Ling and there, you know, then there was kind of like a little thing going on, but still very like very flatline.
that's fair. I went to Wager. There was a little bit of freestyling sometimes that would happen
Bigger.
at Wager. Um, but it's still just to understand how the culture is. So you're basically doing the songs. You show it to your cousins. Does that go over well?
When I show it to my cousin, yeah, they're always supportive, you know.
That's
Cousins,
fresh.
yo, that's a banger, that's this. But they weren't songs, they were freestyles,
Right, freestyles. That
you
is a
know.
very fair distinction. All right. So what kind of after you start doing this, do you what how does it kind of evolve for you? Do you like just kind of keep working at it like that throughout high school? Do you get to a point where you start showing other people and performing and shit, or does it kind of like
But yeah, then basically, I mean, look, after you're starting to do it, then you want to then when you know that you're good enough, you want to start to show it to people. So you know, you keep a little cassette with you or a little Walkman or something with your thing there. You show them, you know, just play it to people, see how people are vibing to it. You know what I mean? Because you have to before you want to go on a main platform and show your shit to the world, you have to know that you have a little bit of something going on, you know. So until I was sure about a track, I wouldn't keep that in the Walkman. You know what I mean? I wouldn't keep that track. You know, I would only show them the ones that I thought that were good enough to show to people.
so? Oh, that's actually serious though. So you would walk around, and it's just like on a. I never thought of this before. You would take like a tape of all the demos you made, like walk around the school or whatever, and just be like, "Yo, check this out," and get like a
Yeah,
pulse of what actually was hot or not. Kind of like how dudes would be showing poetry.
basically.
Yeah, that's actually a very innovative way to approach the shit back in the day before smartphones.
Well, a lot of people were there. They had their little CDs. They were selling their CDs on the streets. You know, $5 here, $5 there. You know what I mean? So we all had different ways back then. But that was my sort of way to do it because I didn't have the money to go and make CDs. You know what I mean? To be giving them out for $5. That wasn't my vibe at that time. You know.
Right. So, I guess you kind of pursue that for a little bit, and how does it evolve to the next like step, or like is it because does high school end or whatever?
Well, high school ended. You know what I mean? After that, it was just basically going to studios, not to make professional tracks, just to like fuck around. You know what I mean? Like do a one two track, see how it sounds, and then like when I started to do it like professionally, that's a whole other story. That's when I met my manager, you know, Brian, as you were saying, and you know, from there it took off.
So how do you end up meeting Brian then?
So what happened was after high school, whatever, I was there just going to jobs, you know, job, you know, you get calling interviews to get jobs or whatnot. So I called this one call center. Uh, it was him, you know what I mean? He was on a call center at that time. I called him. I was like, "Yo, da 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 da." He's like, "Okay, da da da." We were talking about the job, yada yada. Okay, meet me here. Go to this place. So I met this guy, uh, going to a job interview, right? Um, I went upstairs, whatever. We sat down, we started talking, and basically he was the manager, and I was just like an employee at the time, you know. And I used to at lunch, I used to just write lyrics like all over my papers, right? And I guess after one day, I left the office, but I left some of my lyrics on the table, right? And he would go around and pick up papers, and then I guess he read one of my lyrics. He's like, "Oh, this is pretty good," you know what I mean? And from there, he told me that he had a studio. You know, I told him I knew how to rap, this and that, and then you know, he set up the studio for me. Like he said, he already had a home studio, but he set it up to so that we could actually do tracks on it and make some craft there. You know.
Yeah, it's serious. It's like you have no idea what people do in this place. Like you can have somebody on your Facebook, you can see them post shit, and you can literally have no idea who the fuck they are. Like I've had this Brian guy on my Facebook for a long time now. I don't know how long, at least a year. All I knew is he made food. That is the only thing I knew about this guy. Is he posted food pics for a while, videos, and I was like, damn, that looks delicious. But I'm never in Ville Saint Laurent no more, so I'm not really going by there because life. And that was all I knew about him. And now I just like finding out the guy's got a studio. I'm like, hold the fuck up. Like you just, man, there's so much in this city, dude. It just blows my
You
fucking
know, you
mind
know,
sometimes.
you know what BN stands for?
I do not.
Brian Iranian. So what happened was the story's not done. What happened was even before his restaurant, right? What happened was whatever. So we got to talking. He actually for me because he believed in me and believed in my craft and what I was showing him in the songs that we were doing in the studio. He actually paid and made his own record label in Montreal, BN Music. So this is a certified like record label, right? He signed me to the record label. I'm the only artist on the label, right? And and from there, uh, fuck, he paid for me to go to like Atlanta. He paid for me to go to California. Paid for me to go to Texas. And just because he believed in me, he paid, and he also paid for these features with these artists, well-known and established artists. So, shout out to Brian. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's serious, eh? Cause like, I think that's interesting that you even have a manager, and that you went down that path. Cause it's like, as an independent artist, I talk to a lot of independent artists that don't have managers, and I'm not gonna lie, going through their YouTubes is not quite the same experience as going through your YouTubes, where there's actually a lot of different places. There's some really like interesting videos, like just because of the fact you're in Compton in this one, you're in Jamaica in that one, you're in all these different places. You just, and it's always a video, and it's always like a certain degree of production quality. And like, some of these view accounts are just like, that's actually kind of high. Like, how is he pulling this all off? And the reality is, if you have a manager, somebody that's in the back end kind of running that shit, who's going to be watching it, figuring out all the things, I mean, that's the answer to the question, right? Like, at
You
the end
know,
of the day.
I got lucky because like what a lot of people don't have is like they will have a team, but they won't have somebody that's gonna put the money behind them. You know what I mean? I was blessed that Brian had his studio there, and you know what I mean. We like at first we had no engineer. Like it was just the studio, us. We would press record, run in the booth. You know what I mean? Come out of the booth, press stop. You know what I mean? And fuck around with tracks like that until we got our producer, got our own beats. You know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? Then we had a team. So it was me, Brian, and Stephen Oliver. You know what I mean? I don't know if you have him on Facebook, but shout out to him, because he's the one that put the beats together, and then we kind of built a team. So I had a team, and I had somebody that was putting money behind me. So I was actually blessed to have that. Still do, but blessed at that time for that to actually be, my vibe and how I was going on with things.
I appreciate that you're appreciative of the blessings of the situation, but it actually does just present options for artists, right? Like, how many artists don't even bother to seek out these things? Don't look for funding. Don't look for people who might be down for it. Don't even consider it as a viable situation. People act like it's impossible, is I guess what I'm saying. Yet you met Brian on a call center, and boom,
That's it.
I personally have had amazing opportunities birthed out of fucking call centers in this city myself. Every call center I've ever seen or heard of is full of people in music, because half the people in music end up working in call centers here. So it's like just such a melting pot of opportunity. And the fact that, like just off of having some lyrics that you accidentally left out or whatever, boom, turned into a whole thing. I mean, yeah, that part, okay, that's a little lucky. I'm not gonna lie, but like the fact that it could even happen is just, you still took the leap of faith. How many people might have faced an opportunity like that then and decided, nah, I'm not interested because I don't even think you're real. You're just trying to scam me or some bullshit.
Exactly. That I could have been like that too because he didn't have his record label. He didn't have he had a studio. And the thing with that before is because he used to manage an artist that ran off with the music that he did and all the production that he made with that artist. So even before he found my paper, I used to tell him, I used to be like, because I heard him talk about music on the phone with one of his friends. I don't even know who he was talking to. And I was trying to tell him, yo, listen, me, I rap too, you know, like I could do this rap thing. And at the beginning times, he didn't want to hear nothing about it because he was already discouraged about the last dude that he was managing, this and that. He never wanted to hear anything about rap, anything until he picked up that paper and seen that the shit that I was writing was, you know, it wasn't ordinary, you know, it was something to go with.
Yeah, that's serious stills, man. I appreciate that just because, like, again, the fact that it exists means that moving forward, nobody can say that that doesn't happen here because it happened.
No, you can't. Anything happens, and a lot of things do happen. But you know, a lot of out of the ordinary shit happens when you're not looking for it. But when you're kind of looking for shit, you know, it's
Yeah.
kind of big. But
I was just talking to a guy yesterday who put it a little different. He said him and his boys used to go out trying to find girls and they were thirsty, they were not getting girls. But over time, they evolved their tactics and stopped being so thirsty with it. And then they were able to pull things like being broke as fuck and walking out with multiple ladies. And it's all about the attitude and the energies that you put out into the universe and shit. And I do think a lot of people come off a little bit thirsty, and it does maybe come off in a way that's whatever. But when you have organic opportunities that you create, the fact is, like, you still had to have been brave enough to be sitting there and writing lyrics in public, right? That means that, like, all of these things play into it, which meant that you've been doing this. You're comfortable doing this. People probably know you're doing this. Motherfuckers probably told him you're doing this beforehand, so he's aware you're doing, you know, like, all of these pieces have probably played into it. So I like the fact that you created the opportunity, even if there was a luck factor attached to it, and that's just kind of the importance of that stills.